mountain shakes, the sky is torn, the ancient ones awake. They fight with stone and shatter bone for simple fury's sake. The Titan king throws down the earth, his brothers roar and strike. But Foresight sees the coming end upon a lightning spike. Use your minds, the prophet cried, but his kin only laughed. They trusted in the heavy rock and forsook the cunning craft. They chose the path of bloody hands and sealed their own defeat, while Prometheus saw the fire burning at their feet. He saw the chains, he saw the pit, he saw the dark abyss. He would not let his bloodline fall into a grave like this. He grabbed his brother by the arm, the indecisive one. Epimetheues, walk with me, the ancient age is done. The older dragged the younger out, away from kin and home, across the lines of broken earth, beneath the shattered dome. They turned their backs upon their blood to let the new begin, to offer up a brilliant mind and find a way to win.
The war of gods, the clash of earth, of water, fire and wind, where brain and wrong collide in blood and ancient ties are thinned. The titans fight for screaming chaos, gods for cosmic light, but victory goes to he who holds the master gift of sight.
For the throne of lightning strikes, the rebel took the knee. I bring you strategy, my king, to shape the world to be. The Stormbringer accepted him, the cosmic trap was laid. With clever words and whispered plans, the ancient ones were flayed. Down to the pit the Titans fell, the war of heaven won, by tactics and a quiet mind before the rising sun.
Before the rising sun. The highest seat, the closest ear, the right hand of the throne, the wisest mind in all the sky, to point them down the path, to shield the new Olympians from ancient Titan wrath. Until the day he looks to earth and pities mortal eyes.
Prometheus knelt where the river flows wide, with water and clay, the world by his side. He fashioned the vessels, he molded the face, but cold was the clay of this brand new race.
Then Athena descended from up upon high. She breathed in their souls and she opened their eyes.
His brother Epimetheues stood in the sun, tasked to gift every beast till the day was all done. Eagle got wings to conquer the heights, the cheetah got speed to vanish from sight. The bear got the fur to brave the deep cold. The gifts were all spent, the story was told.
But mortals stood shivering, naked and weak, with no defense for the future they seek. Oh, brother of mine, with the eyes that look back, you left them behind in the shadows of black. No armor, no talon, no shell for their skin. The silence of winter is where they begin. My children of clay, so fragile and small, I fear for the silence that The Creator is watching and breathing a prayer. For the spark, for the light.
The master of the lightning looked in anger and disgust. These mortals are a vicious breed, I'll wash them back to dust. A crack, a flash, a blinding light, the endless rains began to pour. But the Titan heard the dark decree from just beyond the door. He whispered to Deucalion, the wooden chest must rise before the Lord of Lightning pulls the oceans to the skies. For in the belly of the wood my children will survive.
The flood begins, the valleys fill, the world is swept away. But Foresight keeps a flicker in the gray and drowning spray. For 9 long days the heavens broke, the ocean swallowed high, until the peaks of mountains were just islands in the sky.
The water fell, the chest was caught upon the stony crest. Deucalion and Pyrrha stood alone of all the rest. An oracle gave one command to make the earth revive. Cast the bones of your mother back if mortals would survive. To desecrate our mother's grave, the gentle Pyrrha cried. But Prometheues' clever blood saw what the words would hide.
The mother is the earth herself, Gaia the ancient one. Her bones are but the heavy stones that bake beneath the sun. They threw the granite in the mud, and from the earth of man the stones of life, taking breath and form. A brand new race of quiet strength, born after the storm.
But look into the Titan's eyes, where silent furies burn. He watches as the throne above waits for the tide to turn. You tried to drown my creations, you tried to clear the stage, but you will never quench the fire of this iron age. His heart is hard as flint and rock, his anger manifest. He'll make a fool of heaven's king and put him to the test.
My children will live on. Field, the tables were spread, where gods and the mortals were meant to be fed. Prometheus carved with a clever design to hide away meat from the master divine. He wrapped the rich flesh in a stomach of gray, but glistened the bones in a fatty display. He offered the choice to the king of the air, and Zeus reached out for the pile that looked fair.
The white bone was bared, the deception was known, and thunder crashed down on the altar of stone. You play with the gods, you treat us like fools, then mortals shall break by the lack of their tools. I take back the fire, I take back the light. Let your clay children rot in the freeze of the night. The hearth fires died with a hiss and a groan, and man stood in darkness, cold and alone.
But fire wasn't all that the thunderer took. He summoned the smith by the mountain and brook. Hephaestus took clay and he molded a face, a woman of beauty, of silence and grace. The gods gave her gifts, a song and a lie, a deceptive heart and a look like the sky. They named her Pandora, the gift of them all, a beautiful snare to make the world fall.
Prometheus whispered a warning of dread. Brother, refuse every gift for your bed.
Seizes a serpent, his honey is stings, but Epimetheues saw only her wings.
He looked in her eyes and he fell for the light, forgetting the shadow that waits for the night.
He took her as bride, he invited the snare, while the Titan's warning dissolved in the air. She held the bronze lid, she heard the soft hum, the moment the world would be broken and numb. She lifted the latch and the shadows took flight. Sickness and labor and pain and the blight, they swarmed from the jar like a cloud on the breeze, to bring the defenseless right down to their knees. The latch was cold, the lock was light, 1,000 sorrows took their flight. Out through the window into the rain, the trick of Zeus, the gift of pain. She slammed the bronze, she wept in vain, but the shadows had already stained the grave. She fell to her knees in the silent room, a beautiful curse in an empty tomb. She pressed her ear to the quiet clay and heard a whisper from far away. I am the light that will not die, the final breath, the quiet sigh, when all is lost and shadows grow. I am Elpis, I am hope. The hearth was cold, the night was long, no light to guide, no hearth fire song. The children shiver in the caves of stone, while gods on high sit on a golden throne. They turn their eyes, they do not see the bitter chill of mortality. One Titan stood with a heavy heart to see his kin being torn apart by hunger's teeth and winter's bite, under the shadow of an endless night. If gods will sleep, he softly sighed, I'll bring the sun to the mortal side. Up through the clouds where eagles rest, to take the spark from heaven's chest, he climbed the jagged path of gold to reach the flame that the heavens hold. Inside the reed, the light he bore, the greatest death in ancient lore. Then Zeus looked down, his thunder rolled at one who dared to be so bold. The sky turned black with divine ire, who stole the sacred holy fire. The mountain shook, the lightning swept, while the giants on Olympus wept. But down below the ember glowed, a crimson light on every road. The first hearth lit, the dark withdrew, a world of ash began anew. The gift of thought, the gift of flame, they whisper still the Titan's name. Now chains are cold upon the peak. For the one who spoke for the poor and weak, he waits for dawn, he waits for pain. But in the valley the fires remain, the light remains. The hammer fell on the mountain crest to pin the Titan against the chest of jagged rock and frozen stone, chained in the heights and all alone. The iron bit into the wrist and bone, a king of clay on a broken throne. The eagle waits for the sun to rise, with hunger burning in its golden eyes.
Then Zeus descended in a shroud of gray to watch the prisoner where he lay. I see the blood, I hear the groan, but I know the secret that you hold alone. You see the threads of the fate's design, you know the one who will take what's mine. Tell me the name, tell me the way, and I'll break these chains this very day.
Give me the name of the one to fear, but silence is all that the God will hear.
I offer you mercy, I offer you grace.
He looks at the God with a stone cold face. One holds the lightning, one holds the key to the end of a divine dynasty.
Unseen nymph waits in the salt and foam, I'd bring her up to my golden home. But you whisper of a son who would rise more grand, to strike the scepter from my very hand, to strike the scepter from my very hand. Speak the name and the eagle dies. Speak the name and the eagle dies. Speak the name and the Titan shall rise.
The Titan smiled through the red and the dust, a broken body but a spirit of trust. Keep your mercy and keep your sky. I'd rather suffer than live a lie. You fear a shadow, you fear a ghost, while I am the one who loves the most. Let the eagle come, let the ages roll. You cannot chain a prophetic soul. The god retreated with a thunderous cry, leaving the prisoner of Elpis hope, and I am with the secret. The Sky Father's eye fell upon a fair maid, but fear of his queen left the lover afraid. He twisted her flesh to a heifer of white, to hide his desire in the shadows of night. Trapped in the form of a beast of the field, the fate of the maiden was cruelly sealed. She wept as a monster, she cried at the stream, a beautiful girl trapped inside a dark dream. The jealous queen saw through the shape and the lie, and sent down a torment that buzzed from the sky, a merciless fly with a venomous sting, to chase Io through every winter and spring. Driven to madness, driven to bleed, over the mountains and over the mead. unable to sleep. The titan who suffers the eagle's sharp beak. Hears the heavy hooves fall and the animals shriek. One cannot wander and one cannot rest. Two victims of gods by the heavens oppressed.
The titan looked down from his dell in the animal's face. For your torment the night where your kingdom is made. Your flesh will return and the madness will die. From your royal the bloodline a savior will spring, to shatter my chains and to stand to a king.
The strongest of mortals, a beacon of light, to carry the trials from the west to the east. And rid with a purpose you carry the key, for Hercules comes to bring mercy to me.
Is cold. A titan is bound in a story of old. With every dawn that paints the sky red, the great eagle circles and falls from ahead. A tearing of flesh that the night will repair, a cycle of blood in the freezing air. Deep in the valley a healer is torn, Chiron the wise by an arrow reborn. Pierced by the venom of monstrous design, a poison that burns in a body divine. He cannot be cured and he cannot expire, a prisoner trapped in his own immortal fire. He gave them the spark and I taught them to heal, two ancient spirits broken on the wheel. I cannot live and he cannot die, let my eternal soul sever his tie. Let the scales balance, let the old laws align. I offer my breath for the bringer of shine.
The thunder rolled down from the Olympian height, a voice like a storm breaking into the night. For a life as the old laws demand, an immortal must fall for the thief of the healer surrenders the breath he was given. The binds of the titan shall finally be riven.
The hero steps forth with a bow drawn tight. Hercules' arrow strikes down the great flight. The iron is shattered, the mountain is free, and the healer finds sleep beneath the dark tree. The scales are now balanced, the debt is now paid. Into the shadows the centaur will fade. The healer is resting, but the fire burns. Down from the mountain the titan has come, to the sound of the flute and the beat of the drum. The mortals surround him with hands held out wide, with Hercules standing right there by his side. The fire he stole is now hearth and now home. No longer they shiver, no longer they roam, but a messenger comes with a wing on his heel, a summons to heaven, a divine appeal.
On the throne of Olympus the thunderer spoke. His pride had been bent, but his word was not broke. I swore by the Styx you would stay on that rock, an oath that no god and no mortal can mock. But a king must have wisdom, and you have the key So here is the way you shall walk and be free, where this band of the iron that held you in place, with a shard of the mountain, a stone for your grace.
A ring for the finger, a chain for the hand, to walk on the sky and to walk on the land, bound to the mountain yet free in the soul, the price of the fire, the debt of the whole, bound to the rock yet the Titan is free.
The bargain was struck and the secret was told, a truth for the future more heavy than gold. Keep back from the water, keep back from the foam. The nymph named the Tis must find a new home, for the son that she bears will be greater than he, the father who takes her, whoever he be. So Zeus retreated, the danger was known, and gave her to Peleus, a king on a throne. From the salt of the sea and the dust of the earth, a warrior comes through, a prophesied birth. Achilles the mighty, the greatest of all, to rise like a mountain, to fight and to fall, the son of the nymph and the king of the clay, the hero who brightens the end of the day. Now the Titan is seated by heaven's high gate, an advisor to gods and a watcher of fate. The ring on his finger, the stone in the